on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Well, Jack, we made it through Friday. And of course, tomorrow we got the debate show and then the big football show. So we have a busy weekend, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the Mac and Jack Sports Show as we start everything here on Roku. So good morning, Jack. Good morning, everyone out there. And let's see what we got here. Okay, we already got David Roska up with us this morning. Good morning, David. How you doing?
Kudos to you. You got this agenda prepared today, and, I just bounce off what you throw at me.
Yes.
You're the
So
one
anyway, he's talking. So Canada did win in a comeback. They won 3-2 in overtime. Some great work by the goalie in overtime goal from Connor McDavid. I don't know if you saw the game last night or not, Jack, but it was an exciting game.
I did. It was an exciting game, and credit to the crowd at the Boston Garden, who showed a lot more class than the Canadian crowd. There was very limited booing on the Canadian national anthem, very limited. The crowd on the whole was respectful of the Canadian anthem, unlike the fans in Canada who booed the United States national anthem. So kudos to the fans in Boston for showing class, and congratulations to the Canadian national team for winning the game. After going up 1-0, fell behind 2-1, then tied it up 2-2. Then it went into overtime. And it would be nice if we had a real great rivalry that continued with the United States and Canada in hockey, because now the playing field is really comparatively level. They're both going to be playing next year in the Olympics, and we'll see whether Canada and the USA are the two, main teams to vie for the gold medal. Of course, there's Sweden, there's Finland, there's Russia, et cetera, et cetera.
Were you surprised that there was no fights in the beginning of the game like the first time?
No, I think they got it out of their system. There was a little scuffle at the net early in the game where it looked like something could break out. But I think the players were completely focused on hockey. It wasn't a question of making a statement anymore. They played a few days ago, so there was that familiarity. And they also have the familiarity of facing against one another in the National Hockey League. It's kind of an oddity that the players on the Canadian national team, on teams in the NHL, a lot of them that are, so obviously they're American based, and they're really intertwined with the American culture. So they feel a bond with the United States and vice versa. And a number of players on the United States team also, they have a big familiarity, obviously, with Canada.
Victor Wembanyama is expected to miss the remainder of the season, something to do with his right shoulder. Do you think it has anything to do with his small frame, Jack?
Excuse me, he has a blood clot in his shoulder. I mean, I don't know why the medical terms, why would he have to be out the rest of the season? But he's young and they want to get it right. And if the Spurs win contention for the NBA title, would it make a difference in him coming back? I don't know. But, when you have a 20-year-old, you don't take chances. You don't take chances with any superstar, any age. I understand that. But Wembanyama is he's a Spur franchise. He's going to be there the next 15 years at least with San Antonio, and I'm sure they'll give him the max money. And what can I say? We don't know the seriousness of it. Maybe more is going to come out, but they're shutting him down the rest of the year. And you kind of just wonder with these clots, they got to dissolve, so they're taking no chances.
Yeah. Bucks Bobby Portis has 25 games for violating the league drug policy. Giannis is pretty upset about it. How much is this going to affect the Bucks the next 25 games?
Well, what is Giannis upset about? Is he upset that the league suspended Bobby Portis for 25 games? Is he upset at Bobby Portis? Is he just upset at the idea that Milwaukee is struggling? They're a little over 500, but they're not the championship contender he'd hoped they'd be from the time they got Damian Lillard last year. Because if I'm Bobby Portis, I consider myself lucky. If you took any performance-enhancing drug, anything illegal, by all rights, I mean, if we were playing in a firmer society, a tougher society league-wise, he could get kicked out for life. They could tell any player, you get caught with a substance, any substance abuse, you're gone for good. Or at least a season, one season, but 25 games, that means he could come back. He'll be back for the playoffs. So it's not a disaster for Milwaukee in that sense. And if they wind up being a play-in team instead of a play-off team, a play-in team could find their way still into the playoffs. But it doesn't look good for Milwaukee, and you kind of wonder whether Giannis is going to be there long term. If I'm the Bucks, I maybe look to move on from Giannis. We talked about this way, Mac, about Joel Embiid should the Sixers move on. The Bucks could get a boatload for Giannis, and Giannis doesn't seem that enthusiastic about being a career Milwaukee Buck. So the time to trade is when a player has his absolute highest value. That's the time to make a deal for him.
Yes. Good morning, Rick. Good to have you in, as you are almost every morning with us. Aaron Judge is open to play in 2026 World Baseball Classic. Now, we kind of locked horns a little bit before the show about this. I think that the teams do have a say in whether they play or not, because they have made the investment in Aaron Judge, and other teams have made investments in these players that will be playing. So I think that the teams do have some say. I don't know if Judge will listen to him or not, but I think, that at least they could say something, Jack.
Judge has 7 years left on his contract with the Yankees. He can tell the Yankees, screw you. I'm going to do what I want. Shut up. I don't want to hear about it again. and the Yankees can't do a thing about it. Can't do a thing about it. The world. What's Steve Cohen going to do with Juan Soto? Is he going to say, "Oh, I have all this invested in you. You can't play in the World Baseball Classic"? Steve Cohen can't do that. Even if he wants to, even if he was a madman and said, "I'm not letting Juan Soto play," Juan Soto could say, "I want to play. Okay, I want to represent Puerto Rico. I'm playing whether you like it or not." And Juan Soto, go ahead and play. And Steve Cohen can't do anything about it. Okay? That's what the World Baseball Classic is. You get the best players playing, and they sign up to play. The only time a player doesn't play in the World Baseball Classic, Mac, if he really doesn't want to. If they don't want to, no one can make them play. Conversely, they could decide they don't want to know from it. It's not important to them. But to the players, it's important. They want to represent their countries. They want to represent their homelands, okay? And, so the Yankees have no say with Aaron Judge.
We'll take a quick break here. Rick wants to know where your
Rick,
articles are available to read that were shown.
Hey, Rick, we can't cut off a Aaron Judge boxing story I wrote. I'll get in touch with you later, Rick. But I'll tell you verbally, it's boxing news. I've written tons of stories over the years. So the story I posted, Rick, I appreciate your kind words. But the story I wrote is one of so many. It's like a ball player playing one game and someone, asking, "Oh, where can I get a clip of you playing that game?" There have been so many. I just happened to post it because I thought I was so good looking in the picture that time. So I kind of wanted to, put it on Facebook one time. But thank you, Rick. Rick's a great guy. I like Rick's comments. If any team besides the Jets have to win the Super Bowl, if the Vikings ever become close, I'll be rooting for Rick's team, the Vikings. He deserves to finally get a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Aaron Boone signs a 2-year extension. We have a couple people on our network that are always writing Aaron Boone. And listen, he brought him to the world, helped lead him to the World Series last year. The team might have won that if they took game one. And things could have been a lot different, Jack.
Listen, one more out in game one. They lost it with 2 outs in the last inning. They then win the game, okay? And then game 5, if Aaron Judge catches the easy fly ball, a fluke that he dropped it, if Anthony Volpe throw to third base, Chaz Chisholm is a little better, or if Garrett Cole covers first base. Any one of those 3 things, and the Yankees leave the inning with a 5-0 lead instead of it being 5-5 in game 5. So they win that game, and guess what? If those 2 little things happen, they go back to Los Angeles up 3-2. See, but instead they lose the series 4-1. So there's a narrative that the Dodgers were so much better because they won 4-1.
Right. Which, when you look it up in history, that's what it will say. It won't give you all those, unless you go and dig it up. But, 4-1 does look like a heavy score, Jack. It does look like, that they won pretty well. So, let's see. We have Manfred says, blame the system, not the Dodgers, for payroll disparity. A lot of people are, of course, want the Dodgers to be kept in check or something. I don't think you can do that. I think that other teams have got to spend, and a lot of teams don't spend, Jack. So, I think that's what the problem is.
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to hear complaining about this, Mac, because as a Yankee fan, going back to the days of George Steinbrenner, when he signed all these free agents, there were complaints the Yankees shouldn't be allowed to do it. Yeah, if you have more fans, if one team has more fans than another team, they should be able to allow to spend more. The field isn't equal. Any team is allowed to spend the money the Dodgers spend. Any team is allowed to bid on players. Any team's allowed to be creative, sign players when they're young, when they look like elite players. Give them a good contract then, like the Padres. San Diego, you wouldn't think would be able to compete with LA. But look, they signed Manny Machado. They signed Fernando Tatis very early in the process. They gave him $24 million a year for something like 13 years. And it looked like, wow, how can they give him all that money? But all of a sudden, $24 million a year doesn't seem like that much. They got ahead of the curve. They got ahead of the curve. And any team can do it. Teams make mistakes by not signing their elite players early. Like the Yankees are making one now, not signing Anthony Volpe. They're going to wait, they're going to wait, they're going to wait, they're going to overpay. And even though I think Brian Cashman is a great GM, he's not good at getting ahead of the curve. He's very bad at doing it. And he proved that, you know, in just the Judge contract negotiations, waiting forever to sign Judge. Then when Judge is 1 year away from free agency, he proposes a deal which Judge, you know, wasn't going to take and smartly didn't take. And Cashman is trying to gain the public's confidence by putting the offer out there. Oh, look what we offered them. You know, and the Yankees wound up spending a lot more money ultimately when Judge became a free agent. And that extra money could have been used elsewhere. The Dodgers are going to pay a price for this eventually. Okay, it's like spending money in advance, throwing everything you have. You know, it's the equivalent of a team trading up and giving all these draft choices, and then you hit a wall eventually. But
Right.
Kudos to the Dodgers, what they're doing. They are loaded, man, from top to bottom. But you have to win on the field.
Yes, you do. In NFL, Jack, LT tells Micah Parsons more football, less podcasts. Does Parsons listen to LT?
It's LT, a great player, Mac, an all-time great, okay? Maybe the best player of all time, position for position. You can maybe make that argument. But who is LT to give words of wisdom with how he's acted through his career, his life, whatever? I mean, when LT played, they didn't have podcasts. So LT couldn't do it. Athletes have podcasts now. They can express themselves. The question is this: is Micah Parsons compromising himself on the field at all? And in this day and age, athletes want to build up their own brand. It's what it is. Look, I mean, I passed by the McDonald's drive-thru the other day. They have the Angel Reese Big Mac or something, you know, with bacon and this and that. And Angel Reese, she's the ultimate athlete who's a self-promoter. Wonderful player, though. Wonderful player. Kudos to her on the court. But she's the ultimate self-promoter. And, you know, and she likes to build up her own brand. And that's what athletes do, you know, in this day and age. And Micah Parsons is trying to do it. But I get the feeling, Mac, Micah Parsons isn't a true leader with the Cowboys. I mean, he's a great player. But if you're a leader, the other players rally towards you. Okay? You get them you rally the players. He wants the team to win, obviously, but you don't get the feeling he pulls the Cowboy defense together quite the way he should.
Yes. Stick with Dallas for a minute. Dak Prescott says he's a lot closer to the Eagles than everyone thinks.
Well, let me get you. When you said Dak, I thought you meant Zach. Let's talk about a more important Cowboys story than that. Okay, that's Zach Martin is announcing his retirement. He's been an 11-year pro guard with the Cowboys and made 9 Pro Bowls, and he's going to be calling it a day, it appears. And in 5 years, without question, he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he'll be inducted on the first ballot, you know. And Cowboys are lucky they didn't listen to Jerry Jones because he came out, Zach Martin, the same time as Johnny Manziel. And Johnny Manziel from the University of Texas, a Texas legend. Jerry Jones badly wanted to take him. But thankfully, Jerry Jones listened to his people, including his son, Steven. No, they wanted Zach Martin. They didn't want Johnny Manziel. They wanted a guard over quarterback. They recognized the disparity in talent between the two. They took Zach Martin, best move they ever made. And it debunks the myth to an extent that Jerry Jones doesn't listen to anyone, because he was upset the Cowboys didn't take Johnny Manziel, because Manziel was so charismatic. You know, Jerry Jones badly wanted to have him, but the Cowboys made the smart move.
Well, it's
and
one of the
back, you said with Dak Prescott.
yes.
Cowboys are close to the Eagles. You know, it's not as crazy as it sounds, Mac. I mean, and I'm going to tell you why. Only for this reason. Just 1 year ago, the Cowboys won the division. The Cowboys were on the same level as the Eagles for the last 3 years. Before that, the Cowboys were 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, and then last year they faltered to 7-10. So what Dak Prescott's saying, if the Cowboys could get back to where they were the 3 years before that, if last year was just a blip and they can get back to where they were, yeah, they are on the same level as the Eagles. I don't think they're quite as good, but they're within range of the Eagles where, you know, they could conceivably overtake them. I mean, that's the point. And I don't think that's going to be the case, but if you just ignore last year, that's what I'm trying to say.
Jack, the Eagles have more weapons than the Cowboys. I think their quarterback is better now. They definitely got a better running game. Their offensive line is unbelievable. Their defensive line is unbelievable. I mean, I don't think Dallas is even in the same ballpark as the Eagles right now.
No. I agree with you. Based on last year, a 7-10 team like the Cowboys, who didn't make the right moves. No, they're not on the level of the Eagles. But what I'm trying to say is, if you disregard last year and consider it an off year, if you want to go that route, then you can make a case that the Cowboys are on the same level, because they were 12-5 for 3 years in a row. And any team that goes 12-5 3 years in a row is on a level, I don't mean as good, but I'm saying in the same category as any team in the NFL. Okay, they were 36-15 over those 3 years in the regular season. I mean, that record
and
is
they don't have
with anyone else.
And they don't have Mike McCarthy anymore. They got
Mike
a new coach.
McCarthy is not an elite coach. He won a Super Bowl
I'm
1
not
year.
saying he is. I'm not saying he is, Jack. I'm saying that he's not with the Cowboys
I'm not
anymore.
arguing. I don't think the Cowboys are nearly as good as the Eagles.
Okay.
I'm not making that argument. I'm saying if you disregard last year, Dak Prescott's attitude, we had an off year last year. We'll straighten things out and get back to where we were the 3 years before. If they can do that, the Cowboys, straighten out what happened last year and get back to where they were the 3 years before, yeah, they are in the same category as the Eagles at that point. And they are contenders. They were contenders the 3 years. But based on last year, no. Based on last year, then the question is, you know, they anywhere as good as even the Washington Commanders.
So let's push on to John Madden's grandson, who lands his first coaching job with the Commanders. That's a pretty good. Place to start out with, Jack. I mean, the Commanders got a lot of good players, and they're probably going to get a lot more with the draft and free agency. And we'll see if he's got what his father got.
Yeah, Commanders overachieved last year. I mean, to come one game away from the Super Bowl was phenomenal. but they really overachieved. I mean, there's certain holes there on defense, and but they have their quarterback of the future, Jaden Daniels. That's the main thing. He was phenomenal, and you get a lot of the relatives of famous coaches who learned, from their dad, their granddad, and they have a bit of a reputation. They had kind of a famous name, and they get jobs. I mean, you have like Chris Shula, with the LA Rams, their defensive coordinator, Don Shula's grandson. That's Mike Shula, Don's son. He's kicked around forever at different teams, as a defensive coordinator and as a head coach at Alabama.
Yeah, Belichick and the
Belichick's, on and on, which is fine because they have it in their blood and they have the knowledge, these sons and grandsons.
So it looks like the NFL salary cap is going up 25 mil plus, which could help a lot of teams sign their free agents, Jack. I could see the Eagles most of their team back again next year.
Yeah, they have this. I'm going to tell you why they have the salary cap, Mac, and the revenue sharing in sports. It's not for competitive balance. It's primarily not for that. It's so the owners can make money. Because if you don't have the cap, the players are going to hold out and you could pay anyone anything. And then it really gets out of hand, at least with a cap. And revenue sharing, you have some control. And I know there are penalties with the revenue sharing in baseball, but it's for the owner's profit, their bottom line. It's to protect the owners from themselves.
Yeah. Andy Dalton signs with the Panthers as a backup to Bryce Young. Dalton getting older and older. Yes. So he's back with the Panthers again. Jackie did pretty good when Bryce Young was out for that period of time, but then of course he became Andy Dalton again.
Yeah, I mean he's there primarily. He's there completely as a backup. Reportedly, he has a great relationship with Bryce Young. They get along great, and Andy Dalton's 36 years old. He's been in the league a while. He's kind of a bit of a mentor to Bryce Young. And you hope Andy Dalton doesn't see the field. If he does, at least they have an experienced quarterback who can run an offense and might be able to do well for a short period of time. But you hope Andy Dalton doesn't see the field if you're Carolina. That means either Bryce Young got injured or he really completely reverted to what he was, in his first year in the league.
That's what I was going to ask. That's what I was going to ask you. You think Bryce Young plays better this year or the same?
I think he absolutely plays better and establishes himself as a really viable starting quarterback. Teams, if they had guts, really guts, they would have made the deal, these quarterback needy teams, for Bryce Young early last year when Carolina benched him. It looked like he wasn't going to be their quarterback of the future. It looked like they had half given up on him. If one team would have called and offered a second-round draft choice for the following draft, I bet at that moment the Panthers would have said, let's cut ties and take the second-round pick. Or you offer them a second and a fifth. But I think the Panthers do it. And any team making that deal and Bryce Young, they would have gotten their quarterback of the future. But Bryce Young's stock had dropped so low at that point that no team was willing to make a deal or believed in Bryce Young at all.
I still think Bryce Young is too small, too thin to keep playing quarterback. I think he's going to get hurt, Jack. I really do.
It hasn't happened in 2 years, has it, Mac? And the rules, if it was football the way you knew it, Mac, then yeah. But not in this day and age. They're not allowed to pile on Bryce Young, okay? The rules protect a quarterback. You can't drive him into the ground. So with the rules being as they are, I'm less concerned about it. And look, Anthony Richardson, we talk about size. Anthony Richardson, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback, he's a big guy. He's a big, strong guy, and he's been injury prone.
Well, he takes on players. Bryce Young doesn't do that. So
okay, so part of it's playing smart as well. We heard that we talked about the Eagles a little while ago. We heard about Devontae Smith when he came out of Alabama. Oh, he's too small, too light. He's going to get hurt. You can't. Will he be able to take the hits? He's been fine. He hasn't been injured.
Yeah. The salary cap, Jack, as I said, was going up. Pats will have $126 million in cap space to make some major moves. So, I would imagine that they make some free agent moves.
What team? Matt, did you say? I didn't hear. What team?
Patriots.
Patriots
will have
Patriots, plenty of moves, primarily on the offensive line, which I expect for them to address in the draft, probably in the first round.
And this $25 million could help San Francisco sign Debo too. That's been looking.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with Debo and everything, Mac. We keep hearing Debo's going to be elsewhere. The Niners gave Debo a permission to request a trade, to seek out trade partners. In other words, the way it works, they let Debo's agent, they gave his agent permission to call all the teams in the league and see what deal could be worked out. So a team might say to the agent, we'll give the 49ers this or that if they're willing to take it for us to have Debo. Okay, so the Niners are just letting Debo negotiate to see what he could work out, but the Niners aren't going to give Debo away. You trade some of these guys to still take a hit under the cap to an extent. One thing I never fully understood is how the cap completely works. And most NFL people don't understand it, Mac. That's why these teams bring in cap experts to figure this thing out. Because I don't think most coaches understand it. I don't think a lot of GMs fully understand it 100%. So they have cap experts to help them, navigate through the particulars.
Yeah, it's very, very complicated, and you'll see some teams can push their cap off and do incentives and all that stuff. All the teams have a problem doing that. So, let's see. NBA standings. Cleveland is in first at 45-10. Boston at 40-16, and Knicks at 37-18. Indianapolis at 31-23, and Milwaukee, as you said, is having problems at 30-24. Cleveland, are they for real, Jack?
To a point. I just want to backtrack a little with the NBA slightly, and then I'll answer that Cleveland question more. Draymond Green mentioned the other day the NBA's become boring. I don't know, is it just me? All of a sudden, I'm bored by the NBA. Something about it, there's not excitement there. Yeah. I don't know, is it because there's complete parity in the league or the whining with the players? I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it. But I'm not excited about the NBA at this moment. I'm excited about the NFL. I can't wait till the draft. I could talk football all the time. I could talk baseball all the time. I can talk NBA, of course. I'm just not excited by all the goings on, and that's what Draymond Green was saying. The product is becoming a bit boring, and some people get offended by what he said, but is he completely wrong? I'm trusting my instincts. I don't know how you feel, Mac. Have you been a little bored lately with the NBA?
I watched the Knicks. That's really it anyway, Jack. So,
but are you excited about the Knicks now, the way it should be? We should be excited about the Knicks. Anyone, who has any link to New York team, we're not excited about them. But getting back to Cleveland, Cleveland reminds me of one of these teams. They're going to kill it during the regular season, and they're doing that. But come playoff time, it's a whole new season. So everything they're accomplishing now, I don't want to say could go down the drain. They should get by the first round, but they're going to have a moment of truth. I mean, with the Celtics or the Knicks, to beat either team, because the Knicks seem to have their number in the playoffs, and you get the feeling the Celtics can turn the switch on come playoff time. So everything Cleveland's achieving during the regular season, right now, if you're asking me whether I think they're going to go to the NBA Finals or not, I'm going to say the answer is no, because they're basically the same team they've been the last few years, but they're just playing better right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to what you were talking about now. I think that the NBA has no defense at all anymore. Anybody can just run into and do a layup, which is that's not a big deal to me. Their 3-point shooting is just they make it or they miss, and then they take the ball down the field, and then they hoist up a three, and then they miss. And I mean, it can get monotonous after a while, Jack. So I can see why Draymond Green is complaining, but of course, he's part of the problem too. He's on a Golden State team, and that's what they do. So, I think you could say he's part of the problem.
Well, Draymond Green more so than other NBA stars, if you want to call Draymond Green a star, has to play team ball, because Draymond Green isn't the type of player who's going to run and gun and pull up and shoot three-pointers. His game is a little more post-up, so it fits a little more into the team concept. But you're right, Mac. The players are up and down the court, just shooting, setting up, and without the three-point shot is good in a sense as far as giving another option. But if you look at analytics and you look at percentages, you might be better off shooting more three-point shots. And even if you shoot a lower percentage, if you make a three-point shot as opposed to a two-point shot, that's an extra 50%, 3 points instead of 2 points.
Yeah.
So, but the league, you don't get as much team play as you really want, and there's certain weaknesses like on defense. You even see Luka. Everyone was up in arms about Dallas trading Luka, and Luka is a phenomenal talent. They loved him in Dallas. He's obviously a star. He plays lousy defense, and no one takes that. And are the Lakers going to go to the next level with Luka, there with LeBron? Probably not. They were probably better off, the Lakers, with Anthony Davis, on their team. But with that said, if I'm the Lakers, I absolutely make the Luka deal, because the Lakers about having a star, a franchise star.
Right. And
he'll be there, Luka, when LeBron isn't. So you still have that big Los Angeles star.
Yes. How do you think Jimmy Butler affects Golden State in the playoffs, or does he?
He helps short term. I like Andrew Wiggins a lot, the guy Miami Heat traded for him. I'm pretty high on Andrew Wiggins. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's going to be motivated. Him, Steph Curry, and company. He makes him a viable contender, put it that way. The 49ers no longer have any favoritism. They're not the type of team you figure, look out for the Warriors. Look out for the Warriors in the playoffs. Did I say the 49ers? Okay, yeah. I mean Warriors. Sanford, at least I got the same city.
Yes.
But the Warriors in the playoffs, look at all the teams they're pretty evenly matched with. The Lakers, OKC, who to me is the favorite. A number of other teams there. So, and even you have a team that's long in the tooth, like the Phoenix Suns, who've been dreadful, playing around, could barely play over 500 with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal.
All right, so it's just not TGIF without Mac and Jack.
Yeah, Mac, we should stick on our topic, but let's see what this one is.
Well,
this might be sticking on that topic. Oh, thanks, Chris. Oh, you're giving Sonia
Yeah.
a compliment. Come on here, eh? I hope you give Mac and Jack a compliment on Sonia's show.
Yeah, there you go. There you
But
go.
Russell Wilson going to Tennessee doesn't, fit in right now. I don't think. And he's not going to Tennessee. I mean,
I don't think
no, Russell Wilson's not going to Tennessee but some of if the Titans, I'll just make a quick comment. It's going to be interesting when they draft one of the quarterbacks, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
Boston at 40-16. They haven't led from, beginning to end like they did last year, but they still probably got the best team in the league, Jack.
Yeah, and the Celtics, no, it doesn't matter the regular season where they finish up, except they'll have a little harder road to the finals by being the number 2 seed instead of the number 1 seed, if that's what it comes out. Even they could be the number 3 seed is fine as well, because how it's probably going to play out, the Cavaliers, the number 1 seed, and I'm taking a look here where they stand right now, Mac. Just bear with me 1 second. So I have in front of me. Because what I thought, the Celtics are 2.5 games ahead of the Knicks. They're the number 2 seed, but they're 5.5 games behind Cleveland. Boston's not likely to catch Cleveland for the number 1 seed. So that means in the playoffs, what's probably going to transpire in the semifinals, if the season ended today, the Celtics would play the Knicks. The Celtics would have the home court advantage. But forget home court advantage for a moment. It means something, but I don't think it's crucial in this day and age the way it used to be. But Cleveland might have to play Indiana, Milwaukee, or someone like that to go to the finals. And yeah, Cleveland will beat the Indianas, the Milwaukees, and they'll go to the finals. But the Celtics and Knicks will have to beat up on one another. And whoever survives that series is then going to have to beat Cleveland. So there's an easier road to the finals for Cleveland than the Celtics and the Knicks, because they won't have to face both the Celtics and the Knicks. They'll only have to face who survived the series between the Celtics and the Knicks.
I'll be honest with you, Jack. I think the Knicks were 2nd seed last year. But this year, they have, the 37-18, as you said. Their defense is okay. The Cat is good. Bronson is good. But there's a fall off with the Knicks. I don't know if the Knicks can beat the Celtics here, Jack.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a rough series. You get the 3rd seed. You don't want to play the Celtics until the finals. Let's say the Knicks do play the Celtics in the playoffs, and it seems to me inevitable they will in the semifinals, unless there's a major upset, with the other teams, which is always possible, but I don't think so. Let's say in Orlando or Miami or Milwaukee, Indiana upsets someone in this, in the beginning round. But if the Knicks beat the Celtics, wow, that takes a lot out of them emotionally. That's draining. And then to play a Cleveland team who's primed and ready, it'll be a hard job. So getting the number 1 seed for Cleveland's very important. It gives them their best chance of going to the finals for sure.
Okay. Over in the West, OKC at 44-10. They might be the best team in the league, Jack.
They might, but all of a sudden Denver's putting it together. Jamal Murray's motivated, with Denver. Jokic. I mean, so Denver's got that pedigree. And OKC, they're having a breakout year, 44-10 right now. All the draft picks, Sean Gilgeous-Alexander, the most underrated player in the NBA, underrated superstar, Chet Holmgren. They have a really good team at OKC, obviously, but Denver's got that pedigree, the championship pedigree. And then there's Memphis, who seems to be, pretty bold with Jay Morant, who's been doing it right this year. And of course, you got the veteran teams. Do they have anything left? The Lakers, what happens? We were talking about Luka a little while ago. What happens if all of a sudden he puts it together this year with LeBron and they're really in sync? I mean, it's possible the Lakers could make some noise. Then there's the Clippers. Who knows if Kawhi Leonard is healthy and playing at the top of his game, anything's possible. And then you mentioned Golden State Warriors. They're in the back of the pack for the play-in position right now. They'll at least get the play-in position. But Golden State is a threat based on their pedigree as well. But Dallas, I'm going to tell you, Anthony Davis coming back, if he's healthy in the top of his game, look out for the Dallas Mavericks. Look out for Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. I see LeBron defending Luka during the press conferences, right? He's just got back. He's been hurt. I guess he was sick the other day. He didn't play. And I think for them to be successful, Jack, they've got to take LeBron off the court when Luka's on, because they're basically the same player, right? They both distribute the ball. Luka, maybe is under the basket more than LeBron a lot of times, but they're basically the same player. They're basically big point guards.
Yeah, well, you make a good point, Mac, a very good point, but you can't take one off the court when the other's on there. I mean, you lose effectiveness. You got two impact stars. They've got to get it right as far as playing together and the team chemistry. But that's the one thing you don't do. You don't platoon. Come on, how can you take one off the court? I mean, if they're going to play 35 minutes a night or thereabouts, what are you going to do? Cut 10 minutes off one of their playing times? You can't do that. It's completely unrealistic, Mac. It's like there being no designated hitter in baseball. And imagine the Yankees had Aaron Judge and Juan Soto on the same team saying, oh, no, they're both right fielders. We can only play one at a time. So one sits on the bench. It makes no sense, Mac, to sit them. It's not going to be done. You sooner trade one of them. You can't sit one because the other's on the court. Come on.
No, I'm saying, Jack, that LeBron drives to the hoop. Luka does not. Luka and LeBron both shoot 3-pointers. LeBron will get rebounds just as much as Luka. That's all I'm saying. So if you can, I'm not saying keep them off the court all the time or taking one off the court while the other one is on the court for a long time. I'm saying they got to figure a way. I mean, they got a couple of good players that can shoot the ball, connect. Wiggins, they got. Go ahead.
Wiggins, I don't know who you mean. That Wiggins is with Miami. I think you're thinking someone else. They made the deal with the Charlotte Hornets to get Mark Williams, the big center who failed the physical and went back to Charlotte. But the idea was for Luka to throw the ball into Mark Williams, and he distributes it back to Luka. Luka needed someone who he could dump the ball into in the low post. That was the reason they made the deal. It's just a question of the Lakers learning, Luka, LeBron and company, learning to play together, blend together. That's all it is. And you keep playing until you somehow get it right. I saw Luka last year in the playoffs actually play defense. And he wasn't bad. He bought in. He's going to have to learn to play defense. He's going to have to be a different player. Luka's been a star his whole life, where the team has been built around Luka, his teams. And he's also been in the Dallas Maverick market. So when they didn't win there, people didn't go hype about what Luka was doing wrong. Luka was loved in Dallas. Now with LA, he's going to be more under the microscope. They have to deliver. They have to win. Anthony Davis was a better fit for the Lakers. The way he played defense, the way he coexisted with LeBron. They played, well together. But listen, the Lakers had to make that deal. They got a player, Luka, 6 years younger than Anthony Davis, who's going to be the face of the franchise at some point. But there are concerns about Luka's conditioning and the way he plays defense. Luka is going to have to get this right. And I think if Luka needs any motivation to work harder, this is it. Being in LA is going to be it, because he's going to hear the complaints, the criticism, much more than he did at Dallas. And I think that'll be motivation enough to really get things right.
So another person that can't seem to stay in shape, Zion Williams.
Zion Williamson, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he will ever lose weight, Jack, and be able to, play like he was built? He was supposed to be the next LeBron James at one time, and he sure hasn't lived up to that.
Will he ever be the player he was projected to be? No. No, because you're what you are. And if he's had issues with his weight and his conditioning and all these injuries this long, I can't see him making a complete turnaround and for the rest of his career being in great shape, being motivated, staying injury-free. But if a team could trade for Luka, you really could catch lightning in the bottle with him. You really can, because he could come up for a couple of years and really be a great player. He could be this era's version of Bill Walton, perhaps. Walton was injury prone, but you get him for a season or two, he could be great. And when he went to the Celtics, he, really helped them to an NBA title. But when Zion Williams is healthy, he's a star. He's an all-star. Okay, when he's healthy and when he's on the court, he's still so talented. I'm not sure with the motivation, and I'm not sure how healthy he could be going forward. That's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, he's not a big guy. He has a lot of weight on that frame. So,
but if I'm a team like the Nets, okay, and the Pelicans call me up and they want to make a deal, they'll trade Zion for Mikal Bridges, for example. I actually make the deal because Zion Williamson has more upside. Zion Williamson, if he's healthy, he's a difference maker, a major difference maker.
I don't make that trade, Jack. I don't make that trade. Mitchell can shoot. He can play defense, dribble. He could do a lot of things.
We're playing GMs now. People are low on Zion now because he's hurt. He's been out, this and that. But you really could catch lightning in the bottle with him. Sometimes you have to make a bold move to get over the top. Teams have to look at who they have now on their roster and the players they have now. Do they really think they're going to win a championship with what they have now?
No.
But you can take a chance on a Zion Williamson and say, wow, if he's healthy and he's at the top of his game, he's going to elevate us. We can win a championship with him. But also, you could trade a very good player, draft picks for Zion, and he can be a bust as well. That's the danger.
Yeah, I would trade draft picks if I'm anybody to get Zion.
Well, they're valuable, the draft picks. I wouldn't just dismiss it that easily,
yeah.
Matt.
Okay. New York Knicks beat Chicago 13-11 last night in overtime.
Well, I don't think it's 13-11. I didn't see the
113, 111.
113, 111. Mac, I know the Knicks were working on their defense, a little tenacious defensive team on the and I don't think to that point.
No.
Comes out as a low-scoring game. Are we going to see a game 52-48 or something? I don't know.
I don't know either. But I saw Cap and what's the center's name there? Pakucha or Patua or whatever his name is.
What team?
For the Knicks.
Never mind. What?
All
Never
right.
mind.
All right. And again, I saw that the Knicks look pretty good. Let's put it that way. They weren't overly.
Knicks are very good. They're very, very good. But considering how good the Knicks are, there's not a buzz, Oh, can the Knicks win the title this year? Because the NBA at this moment is flat. Maybe come playoff time there'll be excitement. But the Knicks to win the NBA championship, it's going to be hard because in all probability, they're going to have to first win their opening round, which they should do. Then they're going to probably have to beat the Celtics. Then they're probably going to have to then beat the Cavaliers. Now you're in the finals and taking on the Western Conference winner. And let's say it's a team like the Nuggets, for example. Do you really think the Knicks, after winning their opening round, which we both think they probably will, are then going to beat the Celtics, Cavaliers, and Denver Nuggets in that order?
That's a long road, Jack.
That's a long, tough road. And they're 37-18 right now. They're having a wonderful year. The trade for Karl Anthony Towns was a steal. Yeah. That's going to keep the Knicks are going to be a good team for a while. The next few years, the Knicks are going to be a very good team, and maybe they'll have to break through one of those years.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Real quick before I go, Cleveland beats the Nets. I thought the Nets were going to be something this year, but they looked at the beginning.
That's when they get Cooper Flagg in the draft next year. If he came to the Nets, if he came to the Nets, he would be a major attraction, maybe a lot of new fans. I mean, a popular white player does it for you, who could really play like a Larry Bird type.
Right.
I mean, they're difference makers, with the fan. I'm like Howard Cosell telling it like it is. Okay, on that. And But, let me backtrack. I said before I would trade Mikal Bridges for Zion Williamson. Maybe I wouldn't do that. If I'm the G, I might have to think long and hard on that because I do like Mikal Bridges on the Knicks. So maybe I don't do that. I probably don't do that.
He could do a lot of things.
Yeah. You're the voice of wisdom in the GM's room with me, Mac. I want to gung-ho, and you're telling me no. So listen to you.
I was Jerry Jones' son to you today. So there you go.
Yeah.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. Top of the hour. Up next should be Coffee and Sports. We'll see you tomorrow on the debate show and the big football show. Have a great one.